So we rap campaign Divine, we strive to build for self, for family, and for community. So let's go to the non-traditional approach. So some people understand what the non-traditional approach to social and criminal justice is. For a lot of people in the movement, and definitely people not in like the formerly incarcerated people's movement, some people probably don't even know what this theory, what this research, what this application, what this movement is. So can you give us some understanding, like what is this idea or this movement, the non-traditional approach to social and criminal justice? But as you explain it, also give us some of this history that brought it together, so we can get some of that too. That brought the concept, the people together. Give us a little bit of all of that, and then depending on what you say, I got some more questions.
Yeah, depending on what I say, huh? But that's why I love you, bro. That's why I love you. But that's a good question, because a lot of times people hear the non-traditional approach and they hear the statistics and they run. You know what I'm saying? And that's good at times, but the question you ask, like, what's the foundation? And when we think about the foundation of the non-traditional approach to criminal social justice, we have to think about the Attica uprising in 1971.
Right?
Talk about it. And when we think about the Attica uprising, in short, that was one of the realest stand-up against oppression amongst prisoners in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Say that again. What you said? What you said? That sounded like some deep scholarship, like something.
Nah, I'm just trying to put it in a capsule to what Attica was to this movement. You know what I'm saying? Because Attica said no more to these harsh conditions. Attica said no more. You're going to treat us like men. You know what I'm saying? And regardless of what happened at Attica, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of different stories of what happened with the organizing committees and all. But whatever happened, we have to know that the men that was in Attica at this time
were
socially conscious prisoners. The majority of the men. Because if you look at the 70s, I'm getting into the historical perspective now, bro.
Go for it, man. Flow. You feeling like flow? It's on you.
So we're going to talk about this for a minute, because we got to understand the historical development of what Attica was. You know what I'm saying? And what it was to this movement. Because when we talk about the non-traditional approach, we got to talk about that mindset. So if we talk about that mindset in 1971, you begin to have a large majority of blacks and Latinos becoming the majority of the prison system. Prior to that, blacks and Latinos wasn't the majority. But due to political and Hoover, let's put it on what it need to be put on, Hoover put out policies to
COINTELPRO.
Okay, so let's talk about it. COINTELPRO was designed to disrupt any organization, anything that would produce a black messiah or produce a movement that would be against the status quo. So they started locking them up in rapid numbers. And this is how they started becoming the majority of the prison system. We're talking about Black Panthers, Nation of Islam, Weather People, Young Lords, and Yetas.
Talk about it.
All of them back then. So they became the majority of the prison system. So now they're in the system and they treat them like it's crazy. Now, remind you, we got all types of world wars and independence popping off in Africa. So it's a whole different mindset. Okay, so these are the men that was in Attica and they popped. State came in, took it over. Over 500 of them men went to Green Haven. All right? 500 of that mindset, experiencing that trauma, went to Green Haven.
All right.
All right. Now they're in Green Haven. Now they begin to start creating what they call the think tank. And the think tank was an organizing committee, just like the youth organizing committee of H.O.L.L.A. That's what it was.
No question.
They organized. They sat down and said, yo, what's going on?
Still shopping still, you heard?
Exactly. Exactly. See the intergenerational movement? the mindset, the pieces. So they sat down and they started asking each other questions and getting things together and putting together position papers. Because if you sitting down and you talking to somebody and then you find out, yo, we from around the same way. Yo, we know the same people. Then they talking long, yo, we family. So, yo, damn, what's going on here? And they started doing their research. Mind you, 71, 72, this is before internet. So imagine the research they doing.
Talk about it.
But they doing very effective research that shocked legislators in the 90s. Like, they couldn't believe the numbers. And we're going to get into them numbers. They couldn't believe them numbers, and that's how the non-traditional approach came into being. You know what I'm saying? It was a bunch of position papers that came together. A package in 1990. 71 to 90, it was position papers, forming ideas, getting together, getting links, putting things together. So by 1990, when the legislators was on the set, they presented them with this: the non-traditional approach to criminal and social justice.
Yeah, that's deep right there. Thank you for that brief out, because I just never even thought about, like, when you just said from 70 to 1990, that's like almost a 20-year period of just building and just struggling and just bubbling up the idea and just tightening up and just putting it together and just tucking it. That I never really thought about. When I came to prison in the early 2000s, the document was there, and when I came in contact with the wisdom from people like you and other brothers, a lot of that was already formulated. So thank you for sharing some of the steps of how that package came together. Yo, the chat is popping, man. We got a lot of energy in the chat, man. We got
so let's answer.
Ain't no question.